Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this showdown. It's going to be the dinosaurs led by FPod and KROQY facing off against Norsca, who's going to be helmed by KROQY, as well as Throg the Troll King, and a bunch of angry Marauder champions, which are very good in this match. Marauder champions, absolute linebackers. They can really dominate SARS. They're also shielded and armored, so they can endure a skink poke, and yeah, they do not mess around. Now, as far as the army of FPod goes, it is going to be skinks and chameleons up here in the front, and I think the main battle line of the army is mostly going to be chaff-centric, a lot of speed, a lot of quick capture weight here on these skink cohorts, which obviously will lose the Norscan infantry, but the strength of the skink is when you stack them on top of or with clever girls, Kroxigors, big monsters, Bastillodons, whatever. That's where they really shine. They just absorb the damage and let the clever girls do the armor-piercing damage. So yeah, that's the frail cold ones here. For the rest of the army, in the back, we do have an Ancient Salamander. Ancient Salamanders are pretty much specialized at killing like heavily armored elite infantry. So we're talking Marauder champions, and also aren't bad fighters and give you a relatively source of fast mobile terror. Got KROQY as well, interesting, not going to be on Grimlock, so he's on the Mini Velociraptor, which makes him a little bit more of a mobile assassin type character. Even still, he's pretty tanky, has almost 6,000 HP, 120 armor. Wouldn't you think that KROQY would have more HP than Astrogoth? Although I guess Astrogoth is like literally turning to stone. I don't know, a little bit of a debate for another day, but anti-large armor piercing. He's going to be able to fight Throg to relative effectiveness, but Throg will also be able to fight back against him. In a straight fight, Throg probably would win because of the regeneration. But even still, I would imagine KROQY is going to be slightly cheaper than Throg. Back here, we do have the Skink Oracle, going to be coming in with Earthblood, and that is it for the Dino Army. And now looking over here at the Hordes of Norsca, the Great KROQY, one of the top leaderboard players. Both these guys, I think, are top 15 in the world. It is going to be Marauders up in the front, so baseline Marauders with some champions mixed in. It looks like KROQY is going to be going for a very aggressive press on both objectives. So his initial plan was just kind of move up, take objective 3, take 2, and then push to objective 1, where he was probably expecting the dinos to be hanging out. Now, front line here, it's going to be Marauder champs. Great choice. Like I said, they're shielded, they're armored, just super grindy in combat, and they hit super hard for like a defensive unit. Marauder champion sitting at 46 weapon strength, and when the rage gets going, they become even tougher to kill with physical resist, leadership, and melee attack. What's not to love? And Throg is a pretty good answer against most dinos. What he's very weak against is being focus fired by like salamanders and some of the chameleon skinks and whatnot. But if he can just kind of sit behind the shield wall and go for opportunistic fights and go after some of the bigger targets that try and jump on top of the Marauder champions, he's going to be in good shape. One unit of javelins would be it, and some Marauder horsemen throwing axes lurking in the shadows here. Ladies and gentlemen, the battle is on, and we do have the Marauder horseman throwing axes also pressing on this side, trying to keep his opponent honest with the Ancient Salamander. Salamanders are such cool units, man. Lizardmen have some pretty fun stuff for sure, but even still, the Ancient Salamander is going to be pulling back, and now we got some clever girls moving up. Throwing axes here are a good choice, but very, very easily out-skirmished by these skink equivalents. And you can see here we do have these skink skirmishers and the chameleons able to kind of poke them back. These poor barbarians getting jarred in the back and being forced into the Shadow Realm from whence they came. Here's the real cold ones. Look at these clever girls hunting them down, trying to get in there. Norsca pushing up, going for the triple cap. I do like this playstyle. KROQY is definitely the Dark Lord of not capturing his back objective, but it looks like he's going to be making an objective for doing it. He just sees blood, and when he goes for it, he just sends he wants every morsel of value he has on the battlefield to be like up in the front lines fighting. That's really, really kind of the playstyle we've seen from him, which is very fun. So yeah, it looks like he's going to get at least a double cap. The home objective of the dinos is for sure going to be swept here by the Norscans as the Marauder horsemen move up onto the point to provide their capture weight. Over here, the dinos do manage to hold it down, though, and the firepower, the Salamander hunting packs and the Ancient Salamander shooting some sweet fire into the Marauder champions, which are going to be forced back, so it looks like the champs are on the run here, and yeah, they're not enjoying this. That's going to be a lot of damage being taken on those guys. And they're not a cheap unit. They do cost, I believe around 1,000 gold, so any kind of poke you can get on them is going to be pretty good. Down here, looks like this is probably going to be a Lizardman victory. They're kind of dragging the Norscans through the mud, which is quite fun to see. Up on the high ground, Norsca is going to be trying to force the issue, and a little bit of a misplay here. We do see FPod sending in a Skink Oracle to try and do a little bit of cycle charging on the champions, but he is met by the Troll King. So Throg with anti-large, armor piercing, and frostbite, and a little bit of throwing axe support. It's going to be very menacing, and this could be a throw by FPod. We'll have to see. Looks like the Skink Oracle is going to be taking advantage of the fact that it's still pretty fast despite the frostbite, and is going to be popping Earthblood to try and get away. Lizard's pulling back on all fronts, and we do start to see clever girls coming in. Clever girls are the answer against Marauder champions. They trade very well. I think in a vacuum, a Marauder champion would win, but if you're able to kind of stack some chaff with them, they do very well. But man, this Skink Oracle's in big danger. That's like pretty much a dream fight for your boy Throg. He's really going to get good value there. But now we see the Feral Cold ones coming out, jumping on top of the champs, and the Skink cohorts most likely will pile in to buffer them in just a moment. And the Skink Oracle trying its best to get away. Frostbite is on for another couple seconds. Let's see if the frostbite can wear off, and it might be able to get away. It does. So now it's back up to 75 speed. Throg does have 56, but it stops for a second and attacks. That is not good. So Throg's going to get the clubbing going. Here we do have the Marauder Horseman throwing axes, and it looks like the Skink Oracle is going to be broken. In the meantime, we do see KROQY moving up, trying to pressure objective number 1. And on his Velociraptor, he is relatively fast at 78 speed. He does get some Feral Cold Ones coming to buffer those cavalry off. And the Lizards look to be moving up with more Feral Cold Ones to try and retake their objective. Meanwhile, on the low ground, it's looking very, very dominant for FPOD here and the Dinos. They're just kind of using their Salamanders and their various monstrous units to dominate the Marauders. And it looks like there's going to be some Berserkers coming in. But honestly, the Ancient Salamander and the Skinks should be able to put a massive amount of hurt here on these Marauder Berserkers and really, really just give them the business. Now, will the Oracle come back? Otherwise, FPOD is going to be out of magic for the game, which would be pretty unfortunate for the Dinos. This is going to be really close. You can see that Throg is trying to hunt it down, and it looks like it might rout off the battlefield. Although I would imagine that FPOD was probably watching this thing very, very close to see if it would come back, and oh my god, it rallies at the edge of the field. Oh wow, that's really, really fortunate. Is he going to notice it? This thing should not get caught by Throg. It does have pretty fast speed, and wow, cold-blooded active, really, really good reaction. MLG comeback. Earthblood overcasted, and Throg is going to be pretty upset about that one, I would imagine. In the backfield, we do see some Razor Dawns, so they were called in to deal with Marauder champions, I would wager, but they are hunted by some of the Horsemen here and some basic Marauders, so we'll see if they're going to be able to kind of fight them off. Up on the high ground here, we do see the Feral Cold Ones fighting against Marauder champions, like I said, pretty cost-effective. And now we get a really good unit by the Lizards, which is the Ripperdactyl. Ripperdactyls are an excellent counter against Marauder champions, pretty much any infantry unit, really. And yeah, especially when your opponent overextends, right? Because if Norsca wants to call in an answer to deal with these, like Skin Wolves or something like that, it's going to be coming from deep reserve, like all the way back here. Whereas like when your opponent really is playing aggressively like this against you, you're going to be able to get the big call in and really give them the dirty. Down here we see KROQY running, being hunted by the Condom Wolves. So they are looking mighty hungry, and he does have 78 speed versus their 75, so he should be able to get away and get back to the support of his fellow dinosaurs. Granted, those Skin Wolves do have the angle of pursuit. They played a little bit of high school football, it looks like, and they do manage to catch KROQY. Now, in a vacuum, would he win this fight? He would probably start killing models pretty quickly. I think that KROQY could win it, but he would probably lose about 3,000 HP, maybe 2,500 out off his 4.5 that he has left. So it probably isn't worth it for him, but even still. This objective being held by the Dinos, middle objective still being swamped by Norsca. Norsca is a really, really tough to remove faction for sure. You wouldn't think so. You know, you look at the Berserkers and the Horsemen and all their different units, they're like, oh, they have low armor, but the Rage mechanic in tandem with some of the Marauder Champion units they do have, or the Marauder Champion unit, makes them actually one of the more hardy factions in the game in my anecdotal experience. Here we get Chameleon Skinks being hunted down by the Marauder Horsemen throwing axes, and honestly, Chameleon Skinks might be able to even win this fight, just due to the sheer numbers that they have. Especially with some of the Ripperdactyls nearby, which do a nice rear charge and intercept those Marauder Horsemen. And we get a couple Feral Cold Ones moving in here as well to go after those Marauders. Looking at the score, we do see KROQY up in terms of value. FPOD is up a little bit. And the fact that he got his big dinosaur away, I think is pretty massive. Man, Throg didn't hear no bell. He's still going after this, but Throg getting lured through the fire and brimstone. FPOD getting the Salamander hunting packs online and just blasting Throg into the Shadow Realm. There's one thing that trolls in pretty much most fantasy universes don't like, and that's fire. And here you can see Throg getting absolutely Shadow Realms by those Salamander hunting packs, and he's got the Skinks running nearby with their darts. And yeah, he's definitely not in his natural habitat right now. He would be preferring some ice and some cold and all that. Now the Skink Oracle might be getting its final revenge, as I believe KROQY is going to most likely be losing his Lord here, which is going to be a pretty substantial leadership penalty to his army. Granted, he does have a triple cap almost. Let's see. So this objective looks like it might be flipping for Norsca. It's very, very close. Triple cap could be a little bit precarious, but with Throg going down, I think that's going to give a massive advantage here to the Dinosaur army, and we do see the Troll King going down into the pits right there. And there are some Skin Wolves, which might be able to get the break on the Skink Oracle. That would be a nice consolation prize for KROQY here, as they do get their Werewolf Claws and start going after the Skink Oracle. But it looks like they are going to get terror-routed off and won't be able to kind of finish their quest there. This objective being held onto by the Lizards. It looks like the terror route coming in from the Ancient Salamander was able to break a lot of the Norskins at once. And the Skinks were able to get the capture way back and stabilize that objective. And on that same coin, wow, look at that. A tale of two lords getting karate chopped. KROQY are actually really getting dominated by those Skin Wolves. So my assessment was wrong, although I have a feeling there were some other variables at play. We do see KROQY running away, and the Skin Wolves going to be trying to finish him off, and he is indeed broken at 560 leadership. These Skink cohorts going to be trying to save him. They might be able to. It depends on which way he retreats. And also we do have the Ancient Salamander coming in with its fire damage against these guys. And yeah, as far as other reinforcements, I'm not seeing too much. Now back on the home point, back on Objective 1, which has been one of the big epicenters of combat here, we do see Feral Cold Ones moving up and using their high armor to push back the Norskins. Skin Wolves will be very cost-effective against a couple of these units. Definitely good against Feral Cold Ones, pretty good against the Ripperdactyls as well. But Skin Wolves are not very good at clearing mass amounts of infantry, right? And you can just see how absolutely alpha these Marauder champions are. I would wager their value's not that insane, but they're just like holding off 3 units like it's nobody's business. As far as their enrage goes, currently they're getting physical resist. Yeah, they're getting all their enrage stacks, so they get physical resist, they get leadership, they get melee attack. Man, I am of the opinion that when Norsca actually ends up getting a DLC of some sort or an update, they're going to be an unholy terror because they're already a top 3 faction, top 4 faction in the game, like really, really strong in Domination. I think in land battle they're pretty feasible as well. I certainly think Domination suits their strengths a little bit better, but yeah, man, they're going to be just unholy once they get some updates, which is, makes sense. They're Hunter of Champions after all. In the backfield, Marauder Horsemen throwing axes and Skin Wolves on their way out, but FPOD really manages to take over this low ground point. And his home point, he's going to need to grab that soon. This could be a situation where maybe KROQY is going to be able to kind of helm deep on the back point. Marauder Champions are, the blessed 69 models. Man, they might actually win this game now. We'll have to see. But Skin Wolf still clawing through the Feral Cold Ones and some of the other high cavalry units coming in. Yeah, we got the Cold One Knight Riders coming in, or the Cold One Spear Riders, I should say. Just my brain's all over the place today. Forgive me. The Cold One Spear Riders maybe get a loop around the back, try and get an intercepting engagement against the Skin Wolves, but their speed doesn't quite allow for that. But man, Marauder Champions just so beast mode, man. Look at them just holding there. Most infantry would have buckled, right, at that point, but no, not the Marauder Champion. Leadership, physical resist, so many good things. So FPOD controls the low ground, but KROQY is just, man, he is a pedal to the metal kind of guy. He just goes for it. Sending his things in, I thought he might consolidate his forces up on the high ground, like take these units up here, but it looks like he doesn't kind of respect his opponent's position down here too much. I guess it's mainly just a couple chaff units, but maybe he also didn't notice that there was a full health unit of Sara Spears coming in. So the Sara Spear unit will easily handle those Skin Wolves and should be able to kind of anchor down this objective. So at this point, probably what you would want to see from FPOD is pulling all the Salamanders and mobility up to the high ground objective to try and get that one back, and just like leaving a Sara Spear unit down here and, buffering with Feral Cold Ones as needed, right? If your opponent sends in a Marauder Champion, you just get some Feral Cold Ones out, and then you're going to be kind of living your best life. So Skin Wolves here getting blasted. Skink cohorts trying to move in to provide a little bit of a screen, maybe just using their poison darts. A little bit hard to tell. They have some ammo left. But these Skin Wolves probably going to be routing off the side of the map right now. I'm not quite sure if they go like right off the side, but we'll have to keep tabs. Usually it's kind of like north and south, the direction with which they repeat here. Marauder Horsemen throwing axes, cruising for a bruising. 15 leadership, certainly not going to be able to do much. We do see the Condom Wolves getting broken there, and now FPOD, he still has not managed to get past these Marauder Champions and these Berserkers. These high leadership Norscan units, they have good DPS too. That's the thing. Like a lot of tanky units in this game, like a lot of dwarvish units, yeah, they might be able to hold a similar amount of time, but they wouldn't have the damage output. Marauder Champions just rocking almost 50 weapon strength against all these like light armored units is just so menacing. And it looks like the Lizard's going to be resorting to some mobility tactics, which I think is quite good. Getting the Cold One Spear Riders and some more Cold Ones to move up. Could be trying to maybe save this Ancient Salamander. Has a little bit of ammo left, and the Terror still would be incredibly relevant, so FPOD definitely should have maybe charged in there to go after the Skin Wolves, but understandably there's a lot being microed here, so moving up here are the Sara Spears, and the big boys are almost in there. So Marauder Champions going to be fighting, but Saras are, they're not going to win, but they're going to take forever to kill. Saras units are just so resilient. Look at them just kind of bouncing their little shields. I never noticed how funny that looks like. Look at the rhythm of their shields being like brought up there. It's so weird looking, but Marauder Champions taking some damage. It's going to be about 300-400 damage there, but their armor helps them hold up pretty well against these Salamander hunting packs. Meanwhile, up on the high ground, this objective finally being taken back by the Lizards, but I believe this is a triple cap situation. So probably what's going to happen is KROQY is just going to helm deep on objective 2, but again, from the playstyle notes that we've seen from him, he likes to get pretty aggressive. I think maybe keeping those Salamanders there could have been good. They're actually armor piercing, so if you stack them on the Saras, they might be able to help kill the Marauder Champions, but even still, there's still Feral Cold Ones here, a couple Skink units, and this full health unit of Saras is going to be able to kind of do its thing. Also, if your opponent's coming in on an objective, like for example, you're pressuring objective 3 with one infantry unit that's way stronger than your weaker units, but you have more of them, you can just kind of kite them around the objective and avoid fighting for as long as possible. And generally, that can be very disruptive against these type of elite infantry units. So on the backside, Skin Wolves heading up, very beat up, and looking here, the Lizards do have their anchor down on this objective, but are they going to be able to get to that back point? Skink cohorts might have something to say about this. These are Marauder Champions, so this is going to be, I believe, about 3 capture weight from these Skinks with their current health. This is going to be 5, so you're going to notice the capture weight is going to start favoring here, and Norsca is going to need to get some reinforcements here very quickly. So good play by FPOD, really good domination fundamentals, getting these units up on the point. Granted, slight mistake there, sending in the Skink cohort. You don't want to be letting it take that kind of damage. You could simply just pull back and pull the cavalry on and maintain the higher capture weight and bounce back and forth, but understandably, trying to get as much aggression as possible. Ripperdactyls in the back should be able to handle these Berserkers. The anti-infantry bonus is nice. Not that they need the armor piercing, but they hit super hard against infantry, right? 57 melee attack, and the bonus I think is over 15. Yeah, it's 15, so that's going to be pretty insane against these Berserker units. And gotta leave something here, though. Don't want to get too greedy. There could be a chance in which the Norskins and KROQY could find their way back there. KROQY still pressuring the side objective, as we do see Marauder Champions trying to get up here, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to get through the mass. And the Sara Spears kind of sitting on the corner of the objective is a very good play. And now we see the Dinos bring out a hard counter, right? So we got the Lizardmen hunting packs. These guys will pack a serious punch here against some Marauder champions. I don't know if the shields mitigate their firepower. They have like bigger shots. I think it does, but yeah, that would require a little bit of testing here. But yeah, he better hurry on getting these objectives, man. It's going to get dicey. KROQY using a lot of his mobility. These Marauder Horsemen to come in, and Norsca Marauder Horsemen are not bad in combat, especially since they've earned a couple chevrons, or at least came with some. So they do chew through the old Chameleon Skinks here. This point has been taken by the Dinos, so currently as it stands, FPOD just needs to hold the triple cap for a little bit longer, and then there would come a point when he could win on 2 points. And he's not that far from that. He's certainly closing in pretty quickly. But the Lizards do have a little bit of a value lead, not as much as you would think. It's actually only 400, which is nuts. But here's the thing. KROQY is starting to get a little bit, desperate with sending out all the Horseman units, which aren't going to be trading as effectively. So the rapid response units, though they get there faster and capture the points a little bit quicker, they don't necessarily give you the sustained fighting that you might need to maintain a value lead. You're going to start hemorrhaging value in those type of situations. So Horsemen being pulled back. Cold Spear Riders are all over them, man. Those Velociraptor cavalry are on their way in. And they are going to be gone. Getting chased off the side of the map. Looks like those ones will round off. Other Feral Cold ones, pretty quick themselves. They do have 70 speed, not quite as fast as the Horsemen, but they certainly have enough to kind of harry and press them. And the Dinos do manage to hold on to that point. And honestly, here, I don't see too many ways KROQY can come back. They're both leaderless. KROQY got karate chopped off the battlefield, but all these Marauder Horsemen, I don't think are going to be able to get the job done. Here we do see some brave skink cohorts fighting 26 Marauder champions and some Berserkers. Honestly, they'll probably end up losing that fight, but the Lizards could simply reinforce quickly if they needed to in the backfield. As far as the low ground goes, we see Marauder champions being chased down by the Lizardons and some clever girls, and objective number 2 here is going to be held by the Dinos for now. Yeah, it looks like they have a lot of power, and KROQY's entire army is basically Marauder Horsemen throwing axes, which could do a little bit of a back objective ninja, but here we're approaching a point where, yeah, essentially the Lizards, by the time Norsca would be able to capture an objective, could just win on 2, which I think would be too much. We'll do a little bit of fast forwarding. I think this is kind of a foregone conclusion here. We do see the Marauder Horsemen going for a little bit of a ninja on the back objective, but FPOD able to respond very well, using a skink cohort to get there, and this point is being held, and now they're within 100 points of one another, right? So that is basically GG well played. What a great game, dude. That was so scrappy and back and forth. A lot of close moments with the Lord, and overall, it's really fun. It's a fun matchup. Lizardmen and Norsca, I always feel like it's cool. You get to see Salamanders, Razordons, Ripperdactyls. Norsca, their roster is kind of limited, right? They don't have a ton of stuff, but the stuff they have is quite good. Man, I really can't wait for Norsca to get an update. Not that they need it from a competitive sense. They're very top tier, but even still, it'd be quite a bit of fun. So we do see KROQY ninjas and objective back on the side. So down here, he is able to get one, but the Lizards are able to get it back very quickly. GG, well played. Thank you guys for sending in that replay. Thank you, FPOD and KROQY. And as far as the breakdown goes, let's take a look at who was effective. How was KROQY and his Velociraptor? Oh, man. Only 800 value. He tried. I mean, both the Lords kind of got shut down, although it looks like Throg did get his value, taking out the Skink Oracle. Salamander paid for itself. That thing costs, I think, 1,100 or, yeah, around that price range, so it did pretty good. Chameleon Skinks are just always a good unit. Clever Girls are amazing. One of the stronger pieces on the roster from a multiplayer perspective, obviously not campaign. But man, the Salamander hunting packs, 2,600 and 1,100. So those are the ones that melted your boy Throg. And really, I think if KROQY had been able to kind of stabilize Throg and didn't get him killed in the backfield with that really aggressive chase, he could have been in a good position to win that game with Throg being active for the rest of the battle, right? 2,000 on those guys. Now for the Army of Norsca, we see Marauder champions performing very well despite heavy pressure on them. What did KROQY's caster even do? Okay, it looks like there was potentially another throw where he lost his caster. We didn't even see what his caster did, and it just randomly died. Maybe KROQY actually killed it. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and watch that. But yeah, Skin Wolves are nice. Horsemen are always decent. GG, well played. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one, and we will see you all on the other side.